Do a vigilance check.
And what's my difficulty?
None.
Oh no, something's down here.
Yikes.
That's really good triumph. Or
That's
vigilance.
a pretty good roll.
There's literally no way I could beat that.
Hoenir beat it.
We got dog ears. He's not a scholar.
You enter this room and you spot remnants of life down here. There are more of those like piles of rags and stuff. And knowing Hylia being Hylia, you know that when they die, they leave behind a body, but it doesn't last long.
Mm-hmm.
Fungi don't last forever.
Mm-mm.
Even the bones inside go more quickly than humans or Thers or Ision.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the corner of your eye, you spot a little bit of movement.
Huh?
And you hear a wet sound as something gets up and moves quickly, more quickly than anything. I mean, you've been in this still place. It's almost like the speed of the water that has been dripping, and it is upon you and Hoenir.
Ugh.
So for that triumph, I am going to need you both to do a fear check,
Is that
which will be discipline or cool. It's going to be against 3 purples.
2 successes on my fear check?
1 success on Hoenir's fear check. One of you gets to go now. So it's like half behind you. You can barely even see it. You have not turned yet to look at it, but whatever it is, it's wet and it's dripping and it's dead.
Hoenir passed that vigilance check. I like the idea that Hoenir noticed and Cælum didn't really even notice.
Okay.
So Hoenir can go first.
All right. So Hoenir rolled 3 successes, 3 advantages. Hoenir jumps back for a second as he sees this thing approach, and then the undead thing, this waterlogged creature, raises a clawed hand. All that's left of it are the bits of flesh with protruding finger bones. And Hoenir jumps forward again and grabs the dead thing in his mouth and rips bits and pieces off of it, and then gets it in one last grab with its muzzle and holds it and says, "Kill it."
And Cælum, I think, still was walking into this chamber with sword glowing, and he touches his hands together and raises the sword over his head like he's going to chop this thing, but is still at a short distance and is going to swing down. And I think a very thin stream of wind shoots out towards this thing in Hoenir's mouth. And I'm going to do a check. And what's my difficulty?
So base magic is easy, which is 1 purple. Are you adding anything to it? Hoenir is engaged with this thing, so I'm actually going to have to upgrade that to a red.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if it matters, but the spell has, wind stuff.
You want it to, like, try to blast it away?
No, I wouldn't want to blast it, even though this is like his signature spell. So maybe it just has blast on it, I guess.
I mean, you could add impact, which could knock it down or disorient it.
And I would take more strain.
You could also add manipulative. So, and then if you get 1 advantage, you move it in whatever direction you want.
Do I take strain to add those?
No, you just add a purple for each of those. So if you wanted to add manipulative, it would be 2 purples, or a purple and a red total.
I'm just going to keep it as is, I guess.
All right. So what happened?
He shoots a thin blade of wind at this wet, decaying, dead creature. And I think at the last second, Hoenir, with this thing in its mouth, kind of turns his head and just keeps like shaking it in his mouth, but pulls it completely out of the shot that Cælum was fired, and it goes sailing towards the wall and hits some stone. It actually cuts like what was probably an old bunk bed carved into the wall in half, and some stone kind of shoots and showers on top of Hoenir.
All right. The dead thing tried to break free, but it can't get loose from Hoenir's grip. And we're back around to the top of the round. Hoenir says, "Are you going to stab it?" You can go, or Hoenir can go.
I mean, it would have been, so much simpler to use magic, but I could just stab it with this glowing hot small sword in my hand. And as he's saying that, he's kind of watching the sword kind of travel around in his hand and glow, and gets a little bit closer and swings down like he did before, but he's just going to swing down with the sword. And I'm going to add my advantages from before and do is it melee light?
Yeah.
Let me check something real quick. I gave myself the talent finesse.
That means you get to use
my agility instead of brawl.
Instead.
It almost makes him kind of okay at melee light.
You got a yellow in there. That means you have trained.
3 successes.
What does it look like when he does that? What does he do?
Yeah, he aims and swings this sword down, and I think after his last misfire, Hoenir is holding this thing prone so that he can get a really good chop in. And he slices down and chops whatever kind of head seems to be on this thing, and it falls to the ground with a hard squish. And a hard squish. And these clawed arms continue to flail around in Hoenir's mouth. And Cælum says, "Ugh, this is gross, Hoenir. You should spit that out."
And as you say that, the dead thing scratches at Hoenir's muzzle, and Hoenir does spit him out. It's like, yeah, it tastes disgusting. I expected you to slice it immediately. You didn't see this thing coming? And the thing starts like scrambling on all fours off just around because it doesn't know where to go anymore.
Oh, it's gross. No, I was too busy documenting, archiving, Hoenir. You're the eyes and ears of this operation. Hope you know that now.
Well, do you want to put it out of its misery, or do you want me to?
By all means, enjoy yourself.
All right. And he walks up to it and just taking one of his claws, slashes at it, and it breaks into more pieces. Its bones and flesh scatter around on the floor, and it stops squirming.
Well, now, what the heck is this? He rolls the head over with one foot and gets a closer look.
It was not a Hylia. From the remains of the stuff on it, it looks like they may have been some sort of explorer who maybe got trapped down here. If you want to do a lore or forbidden check, an average one, I can tell you what sort of dead thing it is. Not that it'll really help you out much since it's re-dead.
You know, these things have been around forever, Hoenir, and it seems like, for the most part, we're kind of just ignoring the problem. We're not really figuring out what we're dealing with here. Maybe if we could learn a little more about these things, we could, find better ways to treat and rid ourselves of them. Just give me a second to take a look at whatever this thing is. I'm trying to understand why it would be. Why is it active? Why is it awake? What's controlling it? What check am I doing?
Forbidden or lore?
I'm gonna do a forbidden. And what's my difficulty?
1.
3 successes and a triumph.
Okay. That dead thing is called a knock. They are typically the remains of those who drown, waterlogged dead. And this one, again, it looked like somebody who came here looking for something, some sort of explorer. And he was probably either a human or a Thayers when it was alive, based on bone structure and height and all those sort of things. Why it came back? That's a good question. It probably wanted something. I mean, it came here looking for something. Maybe it was unsatisfied with the fact that it died and held on to life past its last breath. What do you want for your triumph?
You know what I want? I want this to maybe be the moment that Cælum starts whatever book it is that Roberto later finds, and perhaps Cælum forgets that he even wrote.
So does Cælum have a journal, like an empty journal with him?
Well, he's got Bellman's journal, which is kind of everything that he's written in. Okay, I don't really like the idea of him just having another journal. I'm going to say that he has some loose paper.
Okay.
And this paper will later enter a larger journal.
Okay. So he starts his entry on Nox.
Nox, okay. Well, we've got some pale, dead skin, flesh. Does look like the... whatever... I have a question.
Mhm.
Do things get like would it have like gross sharp teeth or claws or something that it might not even have as like a living thing? Does it get like more kind of gross and deadly as it's dead, or is it more just like a gross?
Not this one.
Okay.
It depends on how strong the dead spirit is. Something that wades in the waters of death for a long time is going to change, and then when it comes back into life, it'll change whatever it enters.
Okay.
But something that was just in there for a short while, a weaker spirit will just enter a dead body and not really change it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you notice that this thing was rather terrifying, and it was also very fast.
And he writes, fast and rather terrifying. All right, got what I've needed. Hoenir, anything interesting you've noticed in this room? Something we can
Hoenir
use?
is busy, like, scraping his tongue on one of his foot pads.
Well, Hoenir,
Only thing I noticed is the taste.
well, when your greatest weapon is your mouth, these are problems I'm sure
It's
you're
unfortunate.
used to. Yeah. Claw thing you did was good, but anyway, we just came down here to poke around. Take a quick look around, and we'll double back to the main chamber.
All right. The two of you look around for a little while. You don't find any more dead things. You find another one of those little weird statues. The remains of journals of books. Nothing really salvageable. Everything's pretty old.
Guess this was an exercise in futility or pointlessness. Interesting though. That dead thing was kind of cool.
Did you do the burning thing like most people do?
Burn the body?
Yeah.
I did not. Thank you for reminding me. I mean,
It might be nice to not have to deal with it on the way out.
Isn't it? It's dead. It's got the head. I cut the head off. It's pretty dead.
It doesn't. It could come back.
Oh wait. What are you, a specialist in these matters, my friend?
Aren't you?
I mean, maybe one day. All I do is document. I observe and try and understand. I do understand that, often dealing with the body does push the spirit further down into a different realm, so to speak. But
Listen, I've spent my life in the forests and fields, and this is not the first dead thing I've dealt with. You gotta do the thing, otherwise it can come back.
all right, bring.
I mean, I can do it. It's one of the few magic things I can do.
Wait, you can make it. I mean,
Can't everyone?
not to my understanding. I'd be interested to see your process. That might influence my own. Here, let me grab this gross, slimy head, and
Just put it all in one spot.
yeah,
Start
grab those
kicking the
pieces.
other parts to a pile.
Yeah, do your thing.
I can't do it while you're watching.
So, I mean,
Turn around.
the only reason I wanted you to do it was so I could
Man.
watch.
I'm getting nervous.
Do you want me to do it? I'll do it, and you can give me feedback.
I can do it. Just stop looking at me.
Okay, it sounds like you can't do it, so maybe you can make up your
I
mind.
can do it. Just not while you're watching. Just turn around.
Okay. Yeah, Cælum turns around.
Okay. And you hear behind you a low, quiet howl. And you can hear the flicker of flames. And when you turn around, the body is quickly engulfed. And in its place is a small sprig of juniper.
All right, so
Told you I could do it.
what's that?
I told you I could do it.
Yeah, I found it.
Just get nervous.
It's okay. I think I found a different way to do it. I like my way.
Fine. Do it your way.
I mean, you can do it your way too. There could be more than one way.
Okay. Let's go.
Before they go, I have a talent called Desperate Recovery. Before your character heals strain at the end of an encounter, okay, that talent doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can do it.
But
if they're not over half or something.
yeah, but I can recover a little strain.
Yeah, cooler discipline. Nothing.
Nice.
Yep.
I got some advantages, some abstract advantages that I probably can't do anything with.
Okay, so healing strain advantages, you're not supposed to do anything with them. However, I think the act of healing strain encompasses the, getting yourself together after a exciting or traumatic experience, which can be noticing details that you may have not noticed while you were in a fight or whatever else. So What sort of details would you like to notice for 3 advantages? About this place, about the fight you were just in, about Hoenir?
Can I notice so this is the same day that Cælum put that spirit to rest, and
Yeah, it was a few hours ago.
So he's just kind of figured out his way to do it, and now he's seeing this way that Hoenir has done it.
Mm-hmm.
Can he notice some details, something different about the way that the two of them have done it, or something about the way that Hoenir has done it that might inform him in the future?
Yes.
And
when Hoenir did it, Cælum noticed that familiar buzz, almost like a fly buzzing around in the back of his head, that he gets when he does Divine or Arcana, when he calls upon those sorts of magic, that he doesn't get when he uses his alchemy and transmutation.
So he notices like a feeling?
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. That he probably would not have noticed had he not been talking to that ghost earlier today, who was saying that there is something different there.
Something's different. So he's understanding that this is a different magic, basically.
It's the same as his Arcana or Divine.
So he's kind of noticing that his way might be superior? He's
noticing that, I'm not going to say there's something wrong with using Arcana or Divine, but that there's something maybe unnatural. It's more of there's something that is bothering him when he uses Arcana or Divine, but he's never really noticed it before.
Okay. That was kind of what I thought about that interaction, but wasn't sure if the Wolfman had a way of doing things that was even more so different.
The wolf doesn't. The wolf is using Arcana.
Okay. That answers my question.
That's what he uses to do his Thunderbark and whatnot.
Okay. So I know that for a fact now.
Yep.
And that was with 3 advantages. Can I say that understanding that it's maybe going to help him in the future if he tries to do something similar?
Sure.
All right, let's tarry no further. Let's get back to that main room.
So you head back down the passageway that dips down and then comes back up into the main room and cross it to the opposite passage where the gate was. You can see that it is now recessed into the ceiling. There are small holes where it poked through the stone of the ground below your feet. And as you head down it, you begin to hear the rush of water.
Sounds like maybe this place
smells wet.
It's filling up again, you think?
I don't think so. I don't hear the pumps.
Well, if you don't hear the pumps, then water might be filling these chambers.
I mean, what I'm saying is I would have heard something. I'm pretty good at hearing.
All right, fair enough. Trusting you on that. Let's head down that path with the iron gate.
As you move into it, the space opens up again, and that rush of water gets louder. You went down another one of those dips that, had you been swimming through it, you probably would have needed air before you could get up to the other side. And you spot whatever machinery is built into the walls and ground. There's a grate that the water drains through and some sort of passage that the water fills up through in the ceiling. And as it scoops back up into another passage, into another room, that sound of water becomes extremely loud, like a waterfall. And you see a waterfall. This room looks like it goes up quite a distance into whatever rock this space is built into. Water is falling from far above. It's not like the biggest waterfall you've ever seen. It's not like the waterfall at Stonewell, but it is quite a lot of water falling. And as you get into this space, your glowing small sword reflects off the moisture dripping down the walls. And you can see that there is a thin walkway that spirals around the outside of this large room, hugging the wall. It looks like it was carved.
Watch your step, Hoenir.
Yeah, it's pretty thin.
How deep
pretty wet, too.
Goes down pretty far?
I can't see the bottom.
Okay. All right. Be careful.
You spiral down on this thin walkway. You probably go around in a circle 3 times before you spot an opening on the opposite side. There's a large gap as you get further down that looks like it goes off to the left and right, almost like a cliff within a cliff, like a canyon underground.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a thin stone bridge that crosses it, which leads you into a space. The stone beneath your feet is wet and slick with slime and years of dirt and grime, but you make your way safely across this thin bridge. You can't even see the ground below. The water just keeps falling. But give me a perception check. Average. Failure and a threat.
I'm really bad.
Okay. You make your way across this thin bridge and slip, and Hoenir grabs the back of your cloak with his teeth and saves you from falling. Take a strain, and the two of you make your way into a tighter passage. It is only a little bit taller than Cælum, and it is definitely carved. Further down, it widens and actually brightens. You can see that the walls have been carved to look like pillars, and beneath your feet, whatever water is spraying in from the waterfall is moving again, against gravity, towards this room.
Well, we are searching for the strange and the unknown, the new and the unique, the undiscovered, and I'd say that whatever we're searching for, this is the center of it. This is the source. Am I right, Hoenir, or am I wrong?
I guess you're right. You hear a voice from your belt.
You don't know how right you are.
As you walk into this room, you see the entire opposite wall to where you are. It's probably 20 feet tall. There's a crack, and it's glowing.
What does the glow look like?
It's cool, it's blue, and water is moving up the wall from the ground and moving into it.
Well, I'd say that's not something you see every day, but I'd say that the things that you, Hoenir, and you, Saffron, and Ajar see are quite a bit different than what most people see on an average day.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
All right, I feel sort of validated by that. It's wild. It's unusual. Saffron, what are your thoughts on this?
We should go through.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
And the new mouth.
I also thought you'd say that, too. So Cælum's going to get a little bit closer, and in the past he hasn't just jumped into something like this, so he's going to, I guess, try a couple things. Try the things that he'd usually try. Just gonna do a general observation of the room and the surrounding area.
He begins to look around and he sees the pillars and the carved reliefs on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And he turns his eyes to the crack, and I'm flipping a story point, because before he has time to fully assess this room and the crack and everything like a good man of science, he hears a distant, somewhere outside this mountain, outside this cave, sound. And he knows that it has to be loud, because it shakes the foundations of this cave. And if it's shaking this cave, it is shaking the mountain that this cave is built into. And the pillars that are supporting the roof, so you can see cracks start to form. They start to fall, and bits of the ceiling begin to fall as well. And that sound of rushing water from outside this place.
That doesn't sound good.
That doesn't sound good at all. How are we going to get out of here if this whole place collapses?
I'm sure Saffron has an idea.
I don't have enough room to run and get us out of here.
So Cælum says, yeah, we don't have a lot of time. Hoenir, we really don't have a lot of options here. We might have to do something a little different, something that might be a little strange and unusual for you. But, you do travel through space and time via a bark, so maybe this won't be that weird for you.
Not time. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's been a weird month. Sorry. Here we go. I thought I prefaced this a few hours ago that space was never mind. It's easier to show you than to explain it. Let's check this crack out. And by check it out, I mean, well, you'll see. We'll see.
Bits of the ceiling continue to fall down and splash on the wet ground, and a huge chunk of it comes out, falls down like 5 feet away from the group of you. Hoenir jumps back and watches Cælum as Cælum does what he's talking about.
Cælum heads towards this blue crack, this pale blue crack with water flowing into it, and as quickly as he can prods it with his sword to see if it's his small sword, to see if it's similar to his past crack experience in Bellman's house, his mansion.
It is. It sparks. It's wider than the other ones, though, and much, much taller. Like, not just a thin, paper-thin line. This thing is inches wide.
Okay, Hoenir, I don't know where we're going, but we're going into this, and I don't know where we're going to end up. I'd say just brace yourself physically, mentally, for what we are about to experience. And, I guess follow me and trust me that you should be okay. And Cælum is going to try and enter into this crack.
And Hoenir bites onto the back of Cælum's cloak and follows Cælum in. I'll flip my story point. Cælum steps through into the other place and is completely surrounded by water. Everywhere he looks, up, down, left, right, it's just water. There's light coming from somewhere, but he can't tell which direction it is. Seconds after he comes through, Hoenir, the large bulk of the Vargur, pops into the space right next to him, and you can see him start thrashing around looking for any direction to move.
I think I'm too calm to properly deliver probably what is going through Cælum's head, but it's probably something like, "What is going on? I think I'm about to drown to death."
Cælum hears Saffron's voice.
Let me out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Other Place. Liking the show and want more? Be sure to leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, and stop by our Twitter or Discord to say hello. The Other Place is a production of Nightcast Creative. Visit nightcastcreative.com to find out more about us and the podcasts we make. In addition to today's new episode of The Other Place, there's a new episode of the Fenrayne Files. If you've been listening along from the beginning, then you know the Fenrayne Files takes a few steps outside of the world of The Other Place to look at the people and places of the show and the things that inspired it. While it used to be part of this show, now it's its very own podcast, and you can find it pretty much anywhere you listen to your favorite shows. And speaking of other podcasts, stay tuned for a preview of a brand new show from Nightcast Creative, set in the world of The Other Place.
Which ain't bad.
Not bad.
Hey, not bad.
Welcome to the Grey Library. Is there a particular story you're looking for?
I'm looking for stories about the dead.
One filled with magic and adventure.
Give me something with a battle. What's the biggest battle you got?
Sit down. Get comfortable. I've got plenty of stories to share.
I sort of sit down cross-legged, my back to the fire, and I have my dulcimer out in front of me and my spear beside me, and I pull out a scroll case. I pull the scroll out and I start consulting it to see what kind of undead shenanigans are happening here.
In the middle of the night, the fires go low. When the rains come down, there starts to hear a scraping and a scratching. When someone rakes their fingernails against a slate chalkboard, you can feel it in you, but you don't necessarily hear the screech, but you feel the scrape.
This dead thing is bearing down on Zola. One hand has his flask of salt water. He's wrestling this dead thing with one arm and has the flask in the other, and just shoots his arm up with the open flask, and a couple of spritzes of the water shoot out and kind of solidify and shoot into little rockets almost that fly and explode on them.
I want to draw my sword and cast a spell on my fist, on the mechanical fist.
You spin around the knock and you throw it at the necromancer. Yeah. It piles into him, and the necromancer takes a staggered step back, and the music is paused for a moment.
Jonathan Quincy Applegate was a fine man, upstanding citizen, and one of the founders of Greenfield. For almost 90 years, his lantern has lit this great city of ours and the countryside beyond, keeping the dead at bay. About a year ago, it went missing.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. I'm surprised not everybody in this town's already dead.
Bet you if we find it, they'd make us famous.
Bet
People would know my name.
Find it, I can look for my family.
So I just got one question for you.
Yeah. Yes?
Do you have any enemies?
Venture into the stacks and join us for Tales from the Grey Library, a new Otherplace anthology podcast, hitting the shelves spring 2022.